Hello, everyone, and welcome to the SOR round 17 here at the Japanese circuit. A very iconic circuit this is. It hosts lots of different close calls, and here it's going to host another close call in between Ruthful in the Racing Point and Yasin in the Ferrari, with Ruthful just needing to finish ahead in the points of Yasin in order to win the championship here in Japan, and Yasin needing to finish 9 points ahead of Ruthful if he wants to keep his chances of winning this championship alive. It's definitely doable. Not saying it's hard at all, and I believe that is Yasin who's actually left the pits first out of this duo, or it could be Twilight. No, it is Yasin. Oh no, it is Twilight. It's Twilight on the medium compound tire. Ahead of him we have, I believe, it's Pixel. Yes, it is. So, hopefully we'll have a solid race. Setup wise, it's quite tricky to get a right setup here, because well, you need a lot of downforce for the first and second sectors especially, and then you need, well, low downforce for the long straight heading into the final couple of chicanes. Let's see. So Ruthful in the championship battle is ahead of Yasin, so he'll set a lap before Yasin. So Yasin actually opted for the soft compound tires when Ruthful is going for the mediums. Now, it is tricky strategy-wise because the softs, they will get you well across the quality line the fastest. But however, how do you say? With the S's, if you don't have that good tire wear, even towards the first 3-4 laps, you will be losing a lot of time to the medium runners. And the only time you'll really lose on the softs, or the medium runners will lose on the soft compound runners, is when they're on a fresh set of medium tires, and that really only lasts for 3-4 laps. Otherwise, the rest they're on fresh softs. So it's going to be interesting to see exactly how things pan out here. So as he crosses the line, or crosses the final corner, actually I should say, to start his his hot lap. Sorry. So heading in to turn 1, you want to keep it in 4th gear just to get that extra rotation out of the car. Yep, puts it in 4th gear heading into turn 1. Now heading into the S's, you want to take as much curb down the inside as you can. He is quite he uses a lot of that curb to the left, and maybe put him off the best line possible, but he does take that corner quite nicely here. And you want to try and take that corner as flat out as possible, go wide and then cut back inwards, and then go flat out. Here the 100-meter board has been broken, so it's going to be difficult for the no-line runners, but he seems to do that quite nicely there. Ooh, that's actually a Alfa Romeo there of, I believe, who is Fox, who's completely lost the rear end and went into the wall. You will see plenty more of those, I can assure you. Heading into the first couple of corners in sector, or not the first couple of corners, the last couple of corners here in sector 2. He loses the back end a bit, but he does get a good exit there, heading out of those 2 corners. Now, heading into 3R. Takes that quite nicely there. Doesn't go wide here. You want to brake roughly at the 100-meter board, which he does quite nicely there. Uses much of the curb there on the left. He seems to do that quite nicely. Avoid the bump at all costs, because that will unsettle your car. Heading in across the lap, it's a 1:28.4, and those are the only medium tires that he has. So that's really his only lap, unless if he wants to do another lap on those mediums later on in the session. But currently that's a pretty quick lap, and we might actually want to go to Yasin, who has aborted his lap or has never set a lap, that I don't know. We will go on board with someone who is on a lap. I believe R3 is on a lap. He is, or he was, puts himself into P5 with a 129.8. He's 1.3 seconds, or 1.4 seconds, sorry, slower than his teammates on the same compound. So Ruthful, really quick, which is good to see. Futuristic is going to start his lap. We're right on board with him, so we can get a better look at this. Alright, so heading into turn 1 and 2. Goes out wide quite nicely there, and on the power straight away right after the exit here. Takes it nice and tight there. Good turn 4. Ooh, it loses the back end there. Heading into turn 6. Here, go wide and in. Oh, that's really cost him a lot of time there. He went really slowly up turn 7, but heading into the quick turn 8 and turn 9. Use as much track as possible. Brake as late as possible. And don't use that much curb. You want to go out wide actually here. Heading into turn 10 and 11, where Kvyat in the same car actually lost the back end. I believe it was 2 years ago, back in 2017 or something like that. Heading into turn 13, Spoon, the iconic corner where it does catch quite a lot of people out. Ooh, he's been caught out and he lost the back end, and he's gone drifting. He's aborting his lap quite respectively, because isn't really the best of laps from him, especially exiting Spoon. So someone who is on a lap actually is Yasin, and I've got a message. 1 second. Okay, so there is rain inbound around lap 9. I got a message. So rain is imminent, not in quality, of course. But let me ask her. Maple's actually completely disconnected, so I won't know if it's full wets the entire race, or if it's just wets or dry wets dry. Because if that is the case, people on the hards and mediums will want to switch off and go on the softs. Because well, if it's going to rain, you can easily make the softs on it. Just got a message again. Okay, so it is dry, wet, dry. Gonna get final confirmation. Okay, so it is dry and then full wet towards the end of the race. So right, we'll go on board with Yasin here, who has just started his lap, heading into turn 1. We'll stay on board with him actually, so we can get a good onboard view of what the drivers experience. So Ruth was actually opted to go on the soft compound tires after seeing that, well, there's going to be rain towards lap 9 and then towards the end. So rain here at Sochi, or not Sochi, sorry, Suzuka. And he actually takes that corner quite nicely there. So we'll give him a lot of time here. Oh, he's used way too much of that curb, and that should be an invalidation. Maybe not. Let's quickly see. Is he on? Yes, he has invalidated it. I thought he did. We will go on board. Who's next to set a lap? Almighty has yet to set a lap, so we'll stay on board with him for the time being. He takes a bit too much curb there and didn't unsettle his car. Here, let's see. Does he take this corner nicely? Almost full flat out, nearly full flat, but it wasn't quite full flat. He's sending a purple first sector, which is good. Ruthful there getting out of the way. We'll have to go. He loses the back end there, heading out of that quick right, double right-hander. We'll go on board with Ruthful after on these soft compound tires. If he can set a 128.4 on the softs, he can really easily maybe set a early 127. even late 126. So Yasin now with 2 invalidated laps. I'm sure will be a bit sweaty because he does have one more tire to one more soft tire to use. It's actually Almighty sets a second purple sector, so we're going to have a mega lap from him, or it could just be a visual glitch. Over the bump, heading across the line now. It is pole position with a 1:28.047. That's a mega lap from Almighty there. Someone we're not used to seeing too much at the front in qualifying. Well, not front, because we've seen him multiple times in the top 5, even top 10, just at the front of the grid. But it's good to see that Almighty is all up there right now. Ruthful, who's on the soft compound tires, going to be very, it should be very, very easy for him to improve on his 128 point nearly 5, as he almost takes it full flat there. He does have quite a bit of traffic in front of him, no one who's on a lap in front of him, but he sets a purple first sector, which is good to see from him, heading into, I believe, what is turn 10 and 11. Quote me if I'm wrong there, but there is going to be traffic ahead of him going into Spoon. He's got a nice small toe, not much, but it's a toe nonetheless, especially in this game. He takes that corner really nicely there into Spoon, and now he's just gotta pedal to the metal there to the line, as the Inaudible Gamer sets a 128.5. Good lap from him. Yes, and who's opted to go on the medium tires in the garage to see exactly what happens as he sets a second purple sector. Ruthful coming across the bump now. Oh, this is going to be a really good lap. It's a 1:27.8. That should seal pole position for now, unless if Almighty with another soft run can stop that. But yes, and still in the pits now. He hasn't set a proper lap just yet, as we see him come out on the mediums. So he is going on the mediums. This Vessel has a 5 grid place penalty for colliding with KK. Oh, that's a bad accident there in between the Hash driver and KK Hunter and Vessel. Very unfortunate. I don't know if they were on. Okay, KK Hunter was on an out lap and Vessel was on a lap, so KK Hunter got in front of Vessel, I do believe, somewhere in that incident, and it caused a collision. The Almo Gamer is invalidated. Someone who is on the lap, GC Fungus now, who set a 128.8. Let's see what he can do. Into sector 1, he's 2/10. Oh, he goes wide there, and that's his lap invalidated. Fox actually was on a he's on a lap. Maple, no. Actually, Maple, no. Kick Hunter, we saw his little accidents. Twilight is 3/10 up now. That would be enough to get him into P10, into the points. Because right now he's the only Ferrari out. Actually, no, Yasin is on an out lap on the mediums, meaning that, well, he'll want to qualify on the mediums, and it is kind of a good strategy, although it will be raining towards lap 9. Do keep in mind the soft compound tires are really difficult to manage beyond lap 5 onwards, and the medium should easily, without any issues at all, make it towards lap 9. Actually, Twilight actually sets a purple second sector. Didn't show exactly how much up he was on his delta. It doesn't take too much curb there, so will cost him a bit of time. Crossing the line now, it's enough to promote him to P6. Great lap from Twilight, and we'll go on board with Yasin, the championship contender in between Ruthful and himself. So as I was saying, definitely the mediums will be a smarter choice, because these softs will be pushing really until lap 9, really hard, if they want to keep those stops alive, because usually the pit box opens, I'd say, around lap 5, 6, 7. That's when you want a box. Especially in a track like this where tire grip is very, very, well, you need tire grip, otherwise in the S's you'll just be way too slow, even in Spoon and the quick double right-hander there at the beginning of Sector 2. So the mediums is definitely a smart choice, considering you'll be able to make it towards that lap 9 where the wet will fall in really easily with no issues whatsoever. And if the soft runners do box for mediums, they'll be way too early for the intermediates, and there'll be 20 seconds. Well, there'll be a pit stop behind, really. So it'll be interesting to see what exactly happens in this race strategy-wise. But yes, and coming across the final couple of corners now, it doesn't seem like it'll be anywhere near pole position, but it's enough to put him into P3 with a 128.5. That's a really good time from Yasin, and that will be his last lap, I do believe, unless if he manages to recharge. Oh no, his fuel is kind of getting critical. So he's in provisional P3 now, but the Inaudible Gamer is on a lap now, so I'd say Yasin will maybe make it P5 at least, I'd say. But the Inaudible Gamer and Vessel, well, the Inaudible Gamer should easily get his P3 back. Unless if he does a spin here, which I totally did not just call, and he comes back on track, almost hitting another driver. So that was the commentator's curse there. That was literally perfect timing. So Yasin, or sorry, the Inaudible Gamer will not be able to reclaim his P3. So really all eyes now are on Vessel and Pixel. So Pixel is coming across 130R now. Pixel just needs to improve by 2.5 tenths-ish, or not even 1.5 tenths, in order to claim that P3 spot. Heading into the final couple of corners now, he takes it quite nicely, actually. It might seem to be a very quick time, and he puts it in P5, so only manages to nibble on the time of Vessel, not by much, as he retires from the session. So no, Yasin's not going for another lap, but Vessel is definitely someone to watch as Maple starts his lap now. We'll go on board with Vessel to see if he can claim P3, because Yasin right now, if he's in P3 with those mediums, as I literally just said, those mediums will be easily able to make it towards that reigning time in the session. But will Vessel be able to reclaim P3 across the line? And he does. He puts it in provisional P3 now, and that should be the end of qualifying, unless if anyone's else is on lap. No, R3 is on lap, GC Fungus is also on lap. So will these guys be able to ruin Yasin's chances, as R3 is setting a purple first sector, and actually Ruthful has extended his pole position to 127.7. I did not know he was on the lap, but I do now. So he claims the provisional pole position, as the next person to cross the line now will be Maple, following by Hazy, who's actually invalidated. So it'll be him, R3, and GC Fungus, I think, yes. So Maple is a 10th down, or 10th up on his time. He's going through, oh, he used a bit too much curb there. He took way too much curb, I think. But he's crossing the line now. Will he improve? He does improve, only to get himself into P12. R3 coming across the front line. GC Fungus is after him. Will R3 be able to ruin Yasin's chances of gaining the pole? Yes, he does. He puts it into provisional P5, or P4, sorry. And Yasin is pushed down to P3, or sorry, P5. So Yasin looking very good for the attack on Ruthful at the early stages of the race has now been declined, and well, he's in P6 actually. He's not P5. I do apologize. But Vessel, with a 5-place grid penalty, will promote Yasin up into P5, which is good for him. So the final grid order is Ruthful, Almighty to round up the first grid, and the Inaudible Gamer in P3, R3 P5 or P4, Yasin P5, and then Almighty P6, Jesus Fungus 7th, Pixel, Twilight Fox, Maple, Hazy, Kiki Hunter, Futuristic, Mats, and Luca with a quality ban. So strategy-wise, I'd say the people at the back will want to go on the medium tires, so they can easily make it towards where that rain will start without having to push their softs and losing the back end all over the place. So definitely be interesting to see, because the soft runners will already lose a lot of tire grip towards that 4, and they'll really be struggling towards the end. So it'll be interesting to see what exactly happens. Right, as we'll start the formation lap very, very soon. Alright, so here we go for the formation lap. Alright, so Ruthful, all he needs to do is finish higher in the points than his rival Yasin, who is in P5, a very good position considering he's on the medium compound of tires. Let's get everything set real quick. There we go, we got everything for the race. So, yeah, Ruthful being very dominant the entire race, or not the entire race, sorry, the entire season. So really, it will be a deserved championship victory if he does win today, the championship. He could have won it last time, but he wasn't enough ahead of Yasin, and honestly, he didn't deserve to win in Russia the championship. It's not a great place to win the championship, if I may be completely honest. So, Yasin on the mediums will definitely easily make it to the raining area. Although I think Ruthful, I don't know, Ruthful might be able to get his soft tires easily towards the end, or towards the end of the dry period. It's difficult to tell, really. But the all I know is that the softs do 100% wear out really quickly at the start of the race, considering the S's, the high altitude, the low altitude points, and the very quick left-handers. Sometimes you will lose the back end a bit. There's a few people there who didn't do the formation lap, as we have a really bad camera angle here for the start of the race. I really hope this is not how it will go. And looks like with Ruthful we're just going to get a wheel cam, unless if something else happens. Yeah, looks like we're just going to get a wheel cam for Ruthful. Actually, never mind. So, right, for the championship deciding race here at Japan, we have 5 lights, and it's lights out, and away we go. And there's actually a glitch start for both Ruthful and Almighty, and they have drive-through penalties. This is a terrible start for them. And multiple positions have been gained, especially by Pixel, GC Fungus, and actually that's Maple going right there and might have spun. No, he's re-entered the track cleanly, and no one seemed to have died at the start, but it's very unfortunate. The glitch, the starting glitch where the lights last longer than the others on the grid did occur for both Almighty, who's actually towards the back of the grid now, and Ruthful, who's in P6, so very unlucky for them, as Ruthful is already picking his positions into P6. No, he has not picked the positions up just yet, but there's a yellow flag, and that's Luca, who has spun at the back of the grid. No virtual safety car, no safety car for now. It doesn't look like it will be that way. So Ruthful does have quick straight line speed. I know that because he took my setup. Ooh, GC Fungus giving him absolutely zero room now. But Yasin is in P3 on those medium tires, which is very good for him indeed. But Ruthful with a very good straight line speed car. And actually, I should probably mention Yasin and Ruthful both have the same setup because they both asked for me for the setup. They both have good straight line speed and good difference. Corners. Actually, there's a yellow flag towards the back. What has happened? There. Oh, there's a Maple who has spun and has rejoined the track. Will he go into the pits? No, he has no damage. Ooh, there's a lot of people who went into the pits. There's 2 people who went into the pits. Almighty, who's got a shocking start due to the glitch, is forced to go back into the pits. So Ruthful back up into P5. So right now, Yasin, if he finishes where he is, I don't think Ruthful will win the championship. All I know that if Yasin finishes P1 and Ruthful finishes P3, Yasin continues the battle on to USA, or Mexico, sorry. But if Ruthful, I don't know currently right now how things stand, because he'll be 15 points. Ruthful will be at 10, so no, he needs at least 9 points, yes, in order to win, so it's definitely not up where he is. Heading towards the front, the Inaudible Gamer does have a good amount of space in between himself at the racing point of R3. Ooh, Ruthful has really caught up towards the back of Pixel now. They both have a decent slipstream, but heading into 130R, he's looking. But he didn't quite manage. So will he go for a late lunge? No, he won't. So it's definitely very unfortunate. And well, Almighty didn't get any damage. Actually, now that I think about it, he had a drive-through penalty to serve due to the fact that he jump-started. He saw everyone going. He knew he had the glitch. So all he wanted to do was just continue on and follow the rest. But well, the game had other ideas. As Yasin looks for a move on the inside of R3 now, loses the back end and hits the Pixel, and he's spun. And will he retire or will he continue? No, he continues, but that's very, very bad stuff for him because, well, now his championship, well, the championship seems very, very unlikely now, considering he has wing damage. I believe he has red wing damage. There's 2 people behind him being forced to slow down, and there's another yellow flag, and that's YWR, who has spun out and who's doing burnouts currently right now at the start finish straight, and he's hit the wall. He's lost his wheel. Will that cause a safety car? That does cause a safety car. Yasin is back in this as if, oh, that's a miracle in disguise there. Yasin now really, really happy now because, well, his chances now are back in the game. He'll box for softs, I'd say, and everyone ahead of him will box for maybe a new pair of softs, and then it'll go on the inters towards the end when the wets fall down. So Yasin right now must be super happy, and I don't really understand at all what happened to Matt there. I don't know if that was intentional or not, but it looked like the rear end was completely cooked, and well, he just kept losing the back end everywhere. So yeah, so he's out. Ruthful continues. Everyone continues. Only a couple people pit. Oh yeah. Oh, Yasin gets a 5-second time penalty for being in the pit lane. Will he serve his penalty? No, he will not. So that will definitely cost him sometime towards the end of the race, unless if when he boxed for the intermediates, his pit crew will wait for the 5 seconds. So he goes out on fresh softs. He will be second to last at the safety car restart. But everyone will be level pegging, and considering he's on fresh softs, yes, and he'll definitely want to be taking his moments. So very chaotic and very interesting first 4 laps of this race. We've actually only gone through what I believe is 3 laps, and then the rest was solely safety car here in lap 4. So as I said multiple times now, it's really a miracle that Yasin got his safety car, and I've just been predicting everything. Like I even said at the during qualifying to the Inaudible Gamer, he should be able to get SP3 unless if he spins, and as I say that, he goes off track and ends his qualifying session. So the safety car will go in, not this lap but next lap, entering lap 6, and then the rain will be imminent from there onwards. Now I don't know if Maple meant that there will be rain starting at lap 9 or by lap 9, but on the MFD it just says when, it just gives a rain logo, so I'd say rain will start there and get progressively worse. Now I don't know if it will be full wets or intermediate conditions, but for the beginning it will definitely stay as intermediate conditions. So I don't know if actually safety car will be in next lap, because the Almighty needs to catch up before the end, but I'd say that should be pretty easy for him to do. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens in this race. Will Yasin be able to make his way up in front, maybe even to win this race, or will Ruthful spin out, or what will happen? I don't know, but as things stand right now, if we were to cross the line right now, Ruthful will be the championship of SOR Season 10. The first season of the decade. First winner of the decade. Of more, maybe. So yeah, so the whole pack has caught up now. Safety car will be in this lap, I'd say. And we'll have to see how many positions Yasin will be able to pick up along the way, and if Ruthful might lose some positions along the way. So we're down to 15 runners. It's a good amount of people for any league, really. Definitely a lot of chances of losing the back end and hitting someone else. So safety car will be in this lap, I think. Should be in this lap. Let's go on board. Do we see any raindrops? No, but we do see the rain clouds that we do see in F1 2019. The safety car is crossing the Sector 38 line. Yes, safety car is in this lap. So, predictions. I think Yasin will be able to make his way back up through the field, but I don't think he'll make his way up enough to finish ahead of Ruthful by 9 points. I think Ruthful, if he just keeps his head down, he's got this win in the bag. So as R3 crosses the line now, we'll look further back towards the grid, and Ruthful seems quite lively on the back, and actually the Pixel is looking very lively on the back of R3, and R3 loses a position to Pixel already into turn 1, and Ruthful sniffs the inside, but R3 is having none of it, going towards back of the grid. Let's see what happens. Where is Yasin? Yasin's still in P14, so not a good restart from him, and as Fox is using every single bit of the track he possibly can, going up towards the field. Ruthful's actually got to move on his teammates, so R3 getting the worst start out of anyone, I'd say, who's lost 2 positions, sorry, and Ruthful gaining 1 position, and that 1 position can be crucial to this race. Will we see any dive bombs here? Oh, we see GC Fungus, who completely does not brake and rams the back of, I believe, who is the Inaudible Gamer, and collects a bit of Fox as well. Oh, Fox is using all the track there, but Yasin's promoted into P13 thanks to it, and they'll run side by side heading into Spoon. We've seen Max Verstappen go down the inside of Sebastian Vettel. It didn't work out for him. Doesn't seem like it'll work out for him either. So going up the field, actually, I see Ruthful getting dangerously close to Pixel. Won't be close enough to get the move done, or will it? No, it's not. So heading back towards the back of the grid. Will we see any late lunges? And we do, yes, and does a late lunge on Almighty. Oh, loses the back in there again and almost collects his teammate. So the 2 Mercedes boys are last to the grid, and that's not something you see, especially in real life. Fox going down the inside of Maple gets the move done. Very good move from him. But will Maple be able to get the switch back? No, he won't. So that seems to be everything towards the back. But Luca seems very lively on the back of KK Hunter. Doesn't get a good run compared to KK Hunter heading into these corners. But Ruthful is very close. If he gets a good run and Pixel gets a bad run, will Ruthful go down the inside of Pixel? No, he looks to the inside, but he doesn't make the move stick. But who's going down the inside? Luca. I definitely knew he would have gone the inside. They touched tires a bit, and that's Luca promoted into P7. Good stuff from him. Go further back the grid, or actually further up the grid. Ruthful uses a bit too much curve there, loses the back end, but now with the straight line speed he has, will he be able to get the move done at a 130R? Or 230R. I'm checking. I don't know my track names, okay. 130R, yes it is 130R. The Inaudible Gamer and Maple are currently battling, and who's this? It's Almighty, who sneaks up the inside of both of them and has caused a slight collision that will definitely go towards the stewards towards the end. That wasn't the cleanest of little sniffs as Twilight gets to move up ahead, and Almighty hits Maple and almost ends up spinning, and that's Yasin, who spun towards the back end. He didn't lose his front wing or anything, so he's able to continue. But that's another, and the rain has started to come down, so that means that people will want to box this lap. I'd say Yasin, buddy, if you want to have any chance, maybe try boxing this lap or next lap, depending on how bad the track looks. It's very naughty from Almighty. He's caused a crash now, as we've seen, and ooh, who's that losing a lot of positions? And there's a yellow flag towards the back. Who is this? It's Futuristic, who's losing many positions. I don't know what happened, but something definitely happened. DRS is not disabled just yet, so the stewards in the game definitely think it's not that bad of rain conditions, but we do see the drivers going very slowly. The undercut on the intermediates don't work, so unless if next lap, if you want to really take a gamble, this lap will be the chance to undercut, because next lap DRS will be disabled most likely, and oh yeah, the traction is terrible now. You're losing 4 or 5 seconds. R3 gets a time penalty for multiple warnings. It's a very difficult call right now, because it's definitely not bad enough for the wets, but next lap it will definitely be, even this lap. Yeah, everyone's opted to stay out. There's a bit of a DRS train going on as Futuristic leaves his teammate, sorry, leaves Yasin going by. The Ruthful is very much gone with Pixel, so that's not good for Yasin at all by any means. So I'd say people will want to box this lap for the intermediate tires. See, if you're further back towards the grid, this is good, because the people, since everyone will be boxing this lap for the intermediates or next lap, they'll get held up. But Racing Points and Renault aren't that far off, but Twilight, the second Ferrari, is ahead of Yasin, so, and we all know how bad double stacking is. So if Twilight boxes this lap, Yasin will either continue another lap or box the same lap. GC Fungus gets a 3-second time penalty, but I think Twilight will continue and not box this lap, as Hazy gets overtaken by Luca. So I don't think Twilight will box this lap. He does not. Will Yasin see this opportunity maybe to box this lap, as Almighty sniffs the inside there? With lap 10, DRS still hasn't been disabled, and KK Hunter boxes this lap for the intermediates, I'd say. And he is boxing for the intermediates, so it's a very big gamble from him, as Yasin sails past GC Fungus. Yeah, so it looks like as as it seems. The tire grip seems to be very poor. So boxing this lap might be the best opportunity. But what's the distance from Yasin to his teammates? It's not much. It's probably only 7-8 seconds, and that's not enough for double stacking. Right, the pit stop itself is 2.5 seconds. Time he comes out not getting held up, and time for the pit crew to reset. It'll be easy 5 seconds. As we have a yellow flag heading into sector 2. What has happened? I believe that's Maple, who's lost a couple positions. His front wing seems intact, but Yasin is back up. He sees the points ahead of him, so we'll have to see what happens. Let's see. KK Hunter did a bad call to box this lap. The DRS hasn't been disabled yet, so it's definitely not bad enough to go on the wets. Will it be bad enough though to go on the intermediates now? Will the top two want to box this lap? Ruthful doesn't go in the pits. Does Twilight go into the pits? Twilight does not go into the pits, meaning that if Almighty actually gets a move done on the Honorable Gamer, if Yasin wants to get a clean pit stop, he'll want to box now as the Honorable Gamer puts him into the pits. As we have a yellow flag in sector 2 that I believe that was KK Hunter who's lost the back end. So once again, we're going another lap without the two Ferrari boys to pit. KK Hunter has really lost a lot of positions as well. The Honorable Gamer's coming out now. He's 40 plus seconds behind. And look at that. No, it was definitely a bad call to box that lap. So the reason why I'm mentioning Twilight being ahead so much is, well, because in the wet conditions you want to box on that lap that your engineer tells you to, or even when it's needed. So double stacking is imminent all the time practically. Unless if you're ahead. So I don't know if team orders will be a thing between Twilight and Yasin. But as things stand, so Pygmy, actually Ruthful has managed to reclaim P1 there. It didn't display on my left, or I was blind, too focused on someone else, but Luca gets a move down on the Vessel. Ruthful continues an extra lap. Twilight does not box this lap either. So will DRS be disabled this lap? Find out next time. Almighty. So it's definitely weird because there are raindrops, as we could definitely see. And Yasin is up into P9 unless if Almighty tries to stick one. No, he doesn't. Oh, that's Fox who spun. As I go on to him, he spins. Will he rejoin on the track dangerously? No. Well, yes and no. No, he gets out the way, but it seems to be fine. So Yasin into P8 now. So he's roughly 10 or so-ish seconds behind his teammate. Actually, let's see. So Yasin's 14 seconds before, so he's 10 seconds-ish behind his teammate. It will be enough for double stacking, I do think. That I'm not too sure. I think, well, by the time he comes in, I think he'll, can't speak, Ferrari pit crew will have finished his pit stop by the time Yasin enters the pits. And I don't know if they'll be reset on time because I know it takes 10-ish seconds. And there's yellow flags. That's someone's front wing that we saw go. KK Hunter boxed again to go on the softs as he was losing way too much time. He's about to get lapped by a Ruthful, so terrible strategy on his end. No offense, but well, it is what it is. As Luca puts himself up into P6, he's actually he hit the brakes quite a bit there. And Twilight does not go into the pits, so that means he has a clear opportunity, Yasin, to go into the pits now for the intermediates. Will he do that? He does not. He doesn't take the opportunity, and I think everyone who's boxing now will have a better chance of, well, because DRS will most likely be disabled this lap, I'd say. A lot of people are getting 5-second time penalties for speeding in the pit lane. It's very confusing, all of this. 15 seconds behind him. 13 oh wait, I'm still to lead, aren't I? 15, 5. So yeah, they're roughly 10 seconds, the two Ferrari teammates. Unless if Twilight spins, it does something bad. Double stacking will look imminent. So let's see, how do the intermediate boys seem to be doing good. I mean, there's rain splatters behind. There's a yellow flag in Sector 2. That's Hazy, who spun round at the quick double right-hander. So yes, the intermediates now seem to be the best tire. So we'll have to see what happens. So 7 and 2. 3 actually. So yeah, the two Ferrari teammates are 10 seconds behind each other. Now, will the double stacking work for Yasin? Because if it doesn't and he gets held up, those are his chances completely out of here. So Ruthful goes into the pits now. He doesn't get a warning for speeding in the pit lane. Twilight goes into the pits now. Yasin will see that. And will he react? He goes into the pits. Oh, he's been held up a bit, Twilight. That's not good. And what are they waiting for? And they're not ready for Yasin. Oh, no, they're not ready at all for Yasin, but they're waiting for a time penalty. 5 seconds, and then they're going. Okay, so the double stacking did work. It definitely did work. But with the 5-second the time penalty he got last time, well, it was he easily got that done. So everyone is on the intermediates. Yasin will come out P8, P9. Or no, yeah, no, he'll come out P7, and gap to leader. He's a pit stop behind Ruthful, so it's not looking likely at all. Unless if there's a pit stop, unless if Ruthful spins, it looks like Ruthful has won this championship. Honorable Gamer gets the move done on oh no, Fox is only in the pits. Kiki Hunter spins and has hit the wall. Will he retire from this race? Well, he reverses onto track. He's in the middle of the track practically. I mean, he's a lap down. Will he continue? He has red wing damage. Now he's going to make his way back to the pits and retire there like a good boy. So it's going to be not confusing, sorry. There are 10, just over 10 laps to go in this race. Oh, I've lost a bit of that. I've lost this number, I'm sorry. So Ruthful seems to be extending his gap to Pixel by quite some margin. So Ruthful seems to be doing good on the wets. The yellow flag who spun. I believe Veluca lost the back end there and has resumed. Oh, Pixel's completely cutting the corners. And into the pits he goes. Will he retire from the session? He's in the pits. And he's retired from the session. But Gamer goes wide, almost loses the back end. So Ruthful is extending his gap to P2, so it looks like he's got the championship in the bag, as it seems. The Vessel now is quite close behind Ruthful's teammate in P4, the battle for P4. A lot of people are quite close to each other. Jay Hazy's quite close to the back of Yasin now. So Yasin doesn't seem to be doing too well on the end. As I turn off, of course, Vessel gets the move done on R3. We'll go back down. Does Hazy? No, Hazy does not go for a dive. But there's another yellow. Who is that? That's no one. Oh, that is someone. That's Fox, who has lost the back end there. And the S is somewhere. And Yasin's got to make a run on Hazy. I think the front Ruthful's crossing the line now, and Pixel's at the last chicane. So we knew that Ruthful was quick the whole championship. Didn't know he was this quick though, however. We'll go down the grid and see what's up. So Yasin looks pretty pacey. He'll want to finish strong, I guess. Heading into turn 1, will he be close enough to get the move done on Maple? And there's a 10-second time penalty, and that's Luca, who's got a 10-second time penalty for corner cutting. Goes into the pits. Almighty actually retires in the pits. And do we lose another driver in the pits? No, he opts to continue. Not sure exactly what happened there on Luca's part, but something happened. Almighty's left the session. So GC Fungus is the only Mercedes runner to get some points for the team. Will Yasin go for a big boy move? No, he won't. Everyone seems to be quite apart from each other except from these two, and actually Futuristic on the back of GC Fungus. Otherwise, the rest seem to be 2 to 1 second apart from each other. Ooh, GC Fungus has gone really deep. He seems to be fine though. Okay, we're gonna stick on board with these two for a little bit. So 10 laps to go on this, in this race, I should say, before Ruthful wins the championship. Seems seeing close. Ooh, actually Maple didn't get a good run at all. He goes to the right, he goes to the left. He's going to go around the outside, heading into turn 1, but it looks like Maple is the car ahead. Yasin tries to go for a switchback. Ooh, that really compromised his line there, heading into turn 2. Heading through the S's now. It seems like Maple has kept his provisional P6, but he's looking very vulnerable compared to both Yasin and Hazy, who's just behind them. Oh, Maple got a terrible run heading up. He squeezes Yasin a bit there, not even a bit, he squeezes him out fully. That is definitely something to watch out for, but looks like Yasin's already regained that time after the squeeze. And is already looking quite lively behind Maple, who goes in a bit deep. The Williams car. I mean, in real life, this should be a pretty easy move for the Ferrari, but you know, with equal performances, this happens. You got for equal performances, otherwise it would have been a joke to be in the Williams team. It would have been a big blue joke. So Maple seems to be quite far ahead of R3. So by the looks of things, Yasin will only be able to secure himself a P6 in this race. Oh, Yasin almost loses the back end there, heading out of 130R. They cross the final corner now. Hazy seems to have lost touch of these two. Will he try and go for another move round the outside, heading into turn 1? No, but he breaks quite late. And these two are the closest in the whole field. Otherwise, it's Vessel on the back of Twilight. Actually, no, it's Hazy on the back of Yasin. But then again, these two seem to be fighting out a bit more. So 10 laps to go in this Japanese Grand Prix here at Suzuka. So maybe we should take this this time, maybe before we see any more action, to you know, to all of the how many are you out there? 11 people watching, you know, in this quarantine. Stay safe, you know, wash your hands, cough and sneeze in your elbow or in a tissue or whatever. And yeah, don't go outside. If you do go outside, only for shopping or for work. Otherwise, stay inside, game F1 2019 all day. You know how it is. No, but really, stay safe. And yeah, so back to the race. Actually, speaking of F1 2019, F1 2020 is definitely around the corner. We've seen the new Zandvoort track with the onboard new Red Bull of Max Verstappen. The Red Bull definitely sounds a lot better with the Honda engine crackles we hear in the turns, especially the one that we heard in Brazil. It was always crackling through the corners. It was a beautiful sound, honestly. And they didn't quite replicate 100% the sound, but they did really good, especially in the turns. When you let go of the throttle in some turns, you can hear the crackling. And Maple gets a pretty bad run there. Yes, and Willie try and go for a move down the inside. It was a very risky move going down the inside there. And Maple continues to the race center, which he is entitled to do. And speaking of F1 2020, the actual season is also around the corner. Starting in Austria, July 5th, I believe it is. So Verstappen will want to start off the season good, considering it's at and completely losing the back end there multiple times. Considering Verstappen, well, he won't get the Dutch Grand Prix this year, unless if they completely manage to redo the season so the new tracks are there. I'd say, considering they're starting in Europe, I'd say they'll probably most likely go to the Dutch Grand Prix. If they don't, it'll be very sad for all the workers who work tirelessly on the tracks, especially even in Vietnam. But Vietnam, you know, with the current coronavirus outbreak out there, would be the best. But China is fully recovered, so we might see a Chinese Grand Prix. There are no more cases in China, which is surprising. Every other country's hating them for it, but you know, they went on lockdown as they got their first few cases. So you know, no one really went outside or anything, as Luca gets the move done on Fox, and Fox is sent onto the grass. Going up the field once again, these two seems to be very lively. Actually, Vettel on the back of the other Ferrari. But Yasin is 5/10 behind Maple. R3 gets a 3-second time penalty, and actually penalty-wise, I should probably check. I'll check after this corner though. Yasin seems very close. Oh, Maple completely blocking him. Once again, there's a yellow flag. Let's see who it is. It's no. Oh, it is. It's Fox who's retired into the pits. Go further back down the grid, back to what we saw. So it's twice now that Maple has blocked off Yasin in this race, which is not good to see. 6 more laps of this race. 7 more laps, sorry. 7 more laps of this race. It's going quite almost flat out there, Yasin, through that corner. It's not possible to go flat out in the wets there. I mean, it is, unless you go very much wide, and you'll probably lose the back end. Yes, and oh, he almost hit the barriers there of death. Oh, we see someone spin. GC Fungus has spun. His front wing, I do believe, is intact. But I do think the 100-meter board is broken at the whole breaking points and everything. I'll go back on board with Luca once we can tell what exactly happens. Let's see. Luca loses the back end, and the 100-meter board is 100% gone. So, and the Yasin on down the inside of Maple, heading it through that fast left-hander now, and Maple will want to stay as close behind to Yasin as possible. But with all that, Yasin's been held up and has actually gained 2 seconds on R3. He's gaining right now as we speak, so P5 is not entirely impossible, but it's not likely. Ruthville completely running away with this race. entering lap 22 now. So we'll move on board to someone else. Twilight seems to be the closest behind anyone on the track except for Maple. He's in touch with Yasin as we speak. Actually, Pixel's quite close to Ruthful. You can't even see him at the head. Ruthful's in the S's. And well, his rival is just crossing the sector 3 line now, so I think if Ruthful stays like this towards the end, he'll even now I think it's sure. And Yasin spun. He's spun and he is back on track. I don't know why that is, but Maple is waiting for him. I do believe it's something to do with Maple hitting the back of Yasin, but now Yasin has lost his P6, and now he's going to look hungry to try and get Hazy. So as I look off, Maple doesn't, as I look off, sorry, Yasin it's taken out. So Twilight's actually pretty close to Pixel. Vessel also is looking quite close to these podium finishers. Definitely be interesting to see as the Inaudible Gamer is actually quite close to GC Fungus as well. Might want to keep an eye on that. Probably gets a 5-second time penalty for exceeding track limits. So penalty-wise, we'll have to see what happens. Actually, I was going to check that. Let's check that now. Incidents. Drive through. 5 seconds for Yasin, but he served that. Pixel has a 3-second time penalty. So does Hazy. Futuristic has a 3-second time penalty. GC Fungus has a 3-second time penalty. Luke has a 3-second time penalty. Pixel has a 5-second time penalty. So Pixel's P2 is no longer existent, really. Pixel gets another 10 seconds, so yeah, no, oh, he's just got the 10 seconds now. So yeah, no, Pixel's P2 is out of question. So these two boys will be promoted onto the podium, both Twilight and R3. As oh, there's a spin at the back, and that's GC Fungus, who has rear tapped the back of the Inaudible Gamer, and that is well, due to the poor physics of this game, has essentially spun him around. In real life, that wouldn't have happened. They would have just touched, and well, he wouldn't have spun. The person in front would have. So in that case, the Inaudible Gamer would have spun, and not GC Fungus. But yeah, I guess that's yeah. So no one's really close to each other except for Futuristic, back of GC Fungus. Will he go for a move down the inside? No, he looks to it. GC Fungus is in an AI car. This is AI car currently controlling him now. It's gonna get a 3-second time penalty for multiple warnings. And GC Fungus is out of the points. It's unfortunate for him. Four more laps of this race to go. So Vessel seems to be closest to anyone in this grid. 9/10 behind Twilight, unless that updates. So podium's very likely for him. Everyone seems to be quite separated. It's only these three that seem to be There's like a small train in between these three. Ruthful crosses the line now to enter lap 25. 2 more laps to go of this race. So the vessel seems to be very close to Twilight now. It's looking to pose a bit of problems. The Naba Gamer seems to be closing up rapidly on Maple, which is to get to 5-second time penalty. So Maple, after losing touch of Yasin, will want to hope to keep his P8 at least. But if he loses in this battle, he'll finish in P9, the latest, I'd say. The gamer looks very lively behind Maple. I don't know if Maple's tires are worn out after that spin there earlier. They both get bad runs there. Well, the Naba Gamer's run has been compromised due to Maple's poor run. He's really pushing him around these few corners now. As Ruthful starts the second to last lap of this Grand Prix. Ooh, Maple's gone in very deep there, and that has allowed the Naba Gamer actually. No, never mind. Maple might have gone wide, but he does have quicker top speed because of it. Heading into Spoon now. Maple doesn't really seem to be holding on to this P8. He's seemed to be struggling. He's braking earlier and he's not turning in as much as the Naba Gamer is. But right now we'll have to see, is he closing in? The Naba Gamer is actually losing touch to Maple. Let's see who can go flat out the most. Maple loses the back end. Heading into the final couple of corners now. Maple is being pushed along the whole track and almost loses the back end there. Maple. Maple trying to cut the slipstream. It is working for him. Just look how much time the Naba Gamer gains under brakes. He's literally tapping him, virtually tapping him. Actually, it might be important also to look at the front vessel on the back of Twilight. The Naba Gamer is less than a tenth. They're actually side by side heading into the S's. Ooh, that's the Inaudible Gamer who spun round, and Futuristic will be sniffing a P9 here. As things stand, the Inaudible Gamer is going back on track now, and that's the Inaudible Gamer demoted down into P10, and now his rears are going to be completely cooked as Ruthful starts the final lap of his Grand Prix. So that battle ended off in tears. Vessel seems to be close to Twilight, but I don't think he'll be able to do it. And Yasin, while he's stuck in P7. So we'll go on board with Ruthful. Just a second. Go on board with him as he crosses the 3rd sector line. With a yellow flag, and after Luca is retired from the session. He spun round into the wall. Don't know if that'll be a VSC. No, VSC's kind of around the final lap. But that's definitely a yellow. We'll have to see what happened. I believe he loses wheel entirely. And he's disappeared before we can tell. But the barrier was moved a bit, and yeah, that's definitely the case. So Vessel and Twilight will definitely be promoted to P2. I don't know about Vessel. Vessel might be promoted to P3 because Will Pixel has like 20 seconds worth of time penalties. Alright, so we'll go on board with Ruthful. This whole race, I remember, my first ever commentating was with him winning in Spain. Now look at him here. He's going to go across the final 2 lines here. Ruthful has done an amazing job this entire season to come across the line. Champion of SOR. Congratulations, Ruthful. You've been an amazing driver, as he does a quick donut there crossing the line. So Ruthful once again champion of SOR, and Pixel's actually retired from the session. Don't know what happened. Twilight gets a 5-second time penalty. I want to see exactly what happened to him. Twilight, okay, let's see. Oh, he spun into the wall completely. And Vesor actually claims P2 in this race with a 5 grid place time penalty. And Twilight demoted down to P3, maybe even demoted down to P4. Let's see, can R3 claim a podium? No. He got an unserved penalty after all, so even with that, he wouldn't have won the race. Hazy coming across the line now to claim P5, and Yasin, sadly, it didn't look good for him, especially after those 2 spins and being blocked off there quite a bit by Maple, but he did a good recovery, especially from that terrible glitch start to finish in P6. Maple P7, Futuristic P8, maybe P9, we'll have to see. And yes, P9, the Novel Gamer takes P9, or P8, and GC Fungus will finish in the points. So we only had points finishing people this race, and even then, GC Fungus isn't actually being controlled by himself, it's being controlled by the AI. It's coming across the line now, it's a P10 for him. So Ruthful in the wet seemed to be a complete monster there. It wasn't easy, but it was definitely not his most difficult race. So there he is, Ruthful, at the top of the podium. What a way to win the championship, finishing P1 in the race you needed to complete. So that's there, guys. That's the championship over. Thank you for doing okay. We still have Mexico, USA, Brazil, and Abu Dhabi in the next 4 upcoming weeks. So we still have a month worth of races for this championship, and season is over. So there we go. Ruthful is your championship of SOR. Congratulations to him. Very dominant drive the whole season. Wouldn't have been any doubt of him winning the championship. So Ruthful finishes P1 alongside with Vessel and Twilight finishing off the podium. Now following down we have R3, Hazy, Yasin, Maple, the Honorable Gamer, Futuristic, GC Fungus, Pixel, well actually GC Fungus, and then the rest, Pixel, Luca, Fox, Almighty, Kicking Hunter, and Mats have all been DNF'd. I'd say my driver of the day, you know, it might be a little bit too easy to give it to Ruthful. Although he did win the championship, I wouldn't really call him driver of the day. I'd say it's in between Vesto and Twilight, because, you know, P8, P9 on the grid. I think definitely Vesto deserved, especially with that 5 place group penalty. Wasn't really deserved. He got blocked off during his quali lap. So yeah, so that's everything. And thank you guys for watching this week's race, and we'll see you all next week. Goodbye.